What's up, Danger? What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new live episode of The Hot Mic here on the Outlaw Nation channel. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, joined as always by the Sneider himself, the man who is shaking the foundations of this industry one scoop at a time. Jeff Sneider, how are you, brother?
What is that? What am I paying you to say that?
Jeff doesn't like it when people kiss his ass, so he gets all weirded out about it. You know what? I'm just being complimentary. There's nothing wrong with that, for God's sakes, man. How are you? How are you feeling? How are things in your world?
Thank you. I'm good.
This new light. What's this all about? This new light. I like it.
I got my face back close to it, anyways. Johnny boy.
Yes,
I'm fired up this week. I've got
stuff
to rant and rave about.
You do. Oh, are you ready to go already? All right. Well, before we jump into it, just want to remind you all, please remember the StreamLabs SuperChats are open. Supporting this show is so integral to keep it going. Got 175 of you already joining us right off the bat. Please make sure you hit a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel down below. It'd be really nice as well. But we got a lot going on here in the world of entertainment. We're going to jump into that big Lindelof article. We're going to talk about the Rock coming back for a standalone Fast and Furious movie. We've got some Kim Cattrall action, for God's sakes. Is Armie Hammer going to launch a comeback now that he's been found essentially not guilty? Danny Masterson, what happens to him now being found guilty? So there's a lot we're diving into here today. Some Marvel news and some other news that might pop up as we go along here. But Jeff, you said you're fired up. You ready to go? Where do you want to go, man?
A lot of happy Pride Month, guys. Pride Month is one of those things that I can get behind. I love it.
Oh,
like Black History Month.
Poor choice of words, but yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
What do you mean? Oh, I get it now. That was good, John.
Can't take the boy out of Boston, I'll tell you what.
Go ahead. Love Pride Month. And yeah, hopefully maybe we'll do a Pride themed show this month.
I'd be down with that. I would love to do a Pride theme show, man. It'd be a lot of fun to get into some of these gory details.
An LGBTQ friendly movie draft.
Ooh, that could be fun. I'd be down with that.
I'll look into that.
I'd be down with that.
Now, right, let's start with really the gayest of all movie franchises, right?
Yes. Okay.
Which is what? What is the gayest of all movie franchises, John?
No way am I answering that question and get myself in trouble. So you go ahead and answer it.
Fast and Furious franchise.
Oh, okay. I would say Magic Mike, but all right.
You'd say what?
Magic Mike. I would say Magic Mike. There's a lot of abs in that one. But yes, go ahead.
Not really. I mean, Magic Mike, it's all like guys trying to sleep with women. No, listen. It doesn't get any gayer than the Fast and Furious franchise. God bless it.
Oh boy. Okay.
And we have Dwayne Johnson today doing Fast X.5 as it's being
X.5
reported. John, you take it away, and then I'll give you my thoughts because a source weighed in today, and it wasn't pretty. It was not pretty.
Wow, really? Okay. Here's what my thoughts on it. By the way, I apologize to everybody. I'm still constructing my office because we had our cleaner come through here, and I have to disconnect everything when she comes through to give her access to everything. So I'm putting things together as we go along. But here's my thing. I reacted to this very positively. I mean, obviously it was kind of spoiled that he had the cameo at the end of the movie, but then seeing him coming back in here, and he's going to have a standalone film. It's going to connect the two pieces of Fast X1 and Fast X2. Which is fine. And I mean, I watched the whole Instagram video, which was a lot of thank you. I don't know who was making videos of themselves reacting to The Rock coming back to Fast and Furious. I swear, I'm on social media all the time. I never saw any videos like that, but maybe people are DMing him these videos or posting these videos and The Rock is seeing them. But more power to him. He says he's buried the stuff with him and Vin Diesel last year and that he is ready to go forward and he is ready to be in service of the franchise and he's excited to be a part of it. And he made it clear, fans first. He's wearing a fantastic Hawaiian shirt. I love The Rock. So for me, getting a standalone where we don't have to deal with Vin Diesel and other people, I liked Hobbs and Shaw. So I'm down. And Chris Morgan coming back to write this one. I liked Fate of the Furious. I like a lot of Chris Morgan's work in the Fast and Furious franchise. So I'm excited to see them coming together for this film. And apparently it's already written. So they're ready to go here, Jeff.
That's like the new thing. It was already written. It's already written, by the way. Not writing it right now. Don't worry.
No, don't worry. Yeah, they're not.
I actually finished it the day before the strike, as a matter of fact.
Finished it.
Pretty nifty of me.
What
I mean, when I saw this announcement, it was like, give me a Seth and Amy style. Really? Really? It's not enough to get this guy back in the cameo at the end of Fast X.
Yeah.
Right. And then just stick him in like the franchise. You know, Dwayne's like, well, listen, I'll come back, but I got to have my own movie. And I'm not talking about a buddy movie with Statham this time. I'm talking about Hobbs gets his own movie. And you
100%.
know that they're like, okay, we'll call it, you know, but like, we're not going to call it, you can't call it Hobbs and Shaw 2 because there's no Shaw.
Right.
It's like, do we just call it Hobbs? It'll probably be called like Fast X Hobbs. I have no idea. Fast X.5. I couldn't believe it was just pitched like that. So, anyways, this is what my source. This is like, you know, the good money source.
Okay.
Right? So he reached out about two things. The first thing is he said that The Rock has had a really hard time getting green lights.
What? The Rock of all people.
I love Dwayne. If you're watching this, I love you.
I love you too, Dwayne. I think it's bullshit that you're having trouble getting green lights.
I'm hearing that Dwayne is getting trouble getting green lights after his last couple of movies, which are Jungle Cruise.
Yes, which was good, I thought. Yes. I thought it was good. Anyway, go ahead. Keep going.
Jungle Cruise, Red Notice, Black Adam. And so basically he was forced to go back to the character of Hobbs and do this franchise. And the thing that doesn't bode well is that this individual is also saying that they've heard Red 1 is not good as well.
Oh, the one with him and J.K. Simmons.
Red 1 is his upcoming Amazon one. And I've heard that Amazon is the latest studio to be like, yeah, we're good on doing this experience again.
Wow.
That's what that was the quote. Yeah, we're good on doing this experience again.
Can he survive?
And I mean, and listen, this is the first. I mean, I guess I don't know. There are others without Diesel, right?
Yeah. Of course.
It's the first like new one, right? Like you have a Diesel. Not only like he's finally taking a step back where he's talking about, oh yeah, there's going to be a female-led franchise. Well, obviously he'll cameo in that. But he's not even going to appear in this one, though he'll take a producing credit, you know?
Oh, Vin will. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, naturally. I mean, he's going to take credit. He's going to get paid where he gets paid. So it makes sense. But, I mean, yeah, I'm not surprised. Look, I know it's a shame. It seems like it, you know, sometimes it just happens all of a sudden. You get a few runs of bad movies and people aren't showing up for your stuff. And look, Fast and Furious is not immune to this either. Domestically, they're doing dog shit. Globally, they're doing great. We're like 500 million globally, but domestically, it's like, you know, it's like driving a Pinto right now, the Fast and Furious franchise. So I think it serves both masters. I think them needing a little injection. Remember, The Rock was what injected new life into the franchise in Fast 5. So bringing him back for a standalone movie. And look, that Hobbs and Shaw was like 800 million worldwide. So it's not like it can't put butts in seats. Standalone is really interesting, though, Jeff, because this is a hell of a chance they're taking with Dwayne. Because if this one underperforms, if this one's like 500 million total overall worldwide, that's going to look bad on The Rock. And that's, I mean, like Statham, being without Statham, doing his own thing. Who's going to be involved in this? Are him and Momoa going to go at it? You know, Momoa is connected with his character to Hobbs because of Fast 5. So
the thing, I mean, I get it from the perspective of who of these people can you do a movie by themselves?
Yeah.
Or largely by themselves, right?
Yeah.
You can do one on Charlize Theron.
Sure. Cypher. Hell yeah.
You can do one on Hobbs. You can't go and do a fucking Tyrese Gibson movie.
Look,
okay.
No, you can't do that. No.
So I think if it is like a movie like that, yeah, you'll see maybe a couple of other Fast characters.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be one of these movies with 20 people in it, right? It's like we have The Rock. That's all we really need. The budget will be lower.
Yeah, do you think they'll do it on the cheap?
It's almost like we're doing a Transformers movie, but we only need Bumblebee.
Yeah.
For
But wasn't this always coming though, Jeff? I mean, I love The Rock. We both love The Rock. Never been the strongest actor necessarily, but certainly been kind of blessed with some of the projects that he chose and being connected to something like Fast and the Furious, which was an ensemble piece. And I'll always say that, even though Vin leads the way, it's an ensemble piece. People enjoy it. So all these people, so the box office could be connected to The Rock. But this feels like he flew too close to the sun, and now his wings are burning off as he descends to the planet. And him going back to Fast and Furious, I agree with you. Well, your source probably is right on the nose here. He felt like, I need a win. Let me go to something that I've done before that people love me for. Let me try to resuscitate my career by doing that. And I mean, they're doing another Red Notice or two of these Red Notices. So, I mean, did it make money? It must have gotten views.
Are they?
That's what they said, that they're making 2 or 3 of these things.
Listen, that's the thing. Like, they can say anything, and they do say anything, right? And it boosts the stock for a day, right? Know, like, I don't even know. Listen, I don't understand it. I'm not going to pretend to understand it. I know I'm used as a vessel sometimes, and I know the likelihood of some of these things happening. So,
and let's look at this, because I mean, like, since Jumanji: The Next Level, which was arguably the not a good sequel. I mean, he had a good time with Hobbs and Shaw, but Ballers kind of dissipated after a while. Jumanji: Next Level didn't do so well. The Black Jungle Cruise wasn't that well received.
Let's say The Rock,
Red Notice,
is only good with is really like he needs Kevin Hart.
I agree with you. I think that's got to be the next step.
They have something special, and I love when it's the two of them.
Yes,
and they should continue to pursue other shit like that isn't 4-quadrant family adventure comedy, like that stuff. Like, do an R-rated comedy. I know. I mean, this is normally with 2 black leads, but like Uptown Saturday Night, or just like something with a little bit of flavor to it. I think Dwayne also needs to try to challenge himself as far as like directors go, which has always been like a Will Smith thing, like I don't know, like, and even, I mean, Cruise works with good directors too sometimes, but I don't know.
But how many good directors are clamoring to work with I mean, Rick Romanois, who I interviewed, last week, he said he'd be down to work with The Rock again at any time.
Should be. Rick, I mean, I haven't seen that movie. Believe me, it's on my list. I've been waiting to see it with a buddy. No, I haven't seen it yet.
Go see it.
That would be cool. I don't know, man. The
I mean, he's essentially
resuscitated. He can find it.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, but we need to move on. I don't want to spend too much time on the Rock, but it's like, if you were him, would you slim down at all so that you could take on a greater range of roles, or is being like, I guess, like, Schwarzenegger and Stallone, they could slim down and do the the off-brand piece, but they also weren't called The Rock. Right. Could he even do that?
It's a good question. He has done it before, because if people remember, when he first came out of the WWE to go and do movies, he did Scorpion King, and he did these a couple other movies where he was big. But then he slimmed down for Be Cool. He slimmed down to try and play a little more arts. I think it was in Southland Tales. He tried to play a little artsy, and it ended up not being what he really wanted to do. He wasn't happy, wasn't satisfied. So he dialed back into lifting and got huge. And that has been his calling card now going forward. I think this is what happened. This is just what happens to action heroes. It happened to Schwarzenegger. It happened to Stallone. And now it's happening to The Rock, right? There's that scene in The Rundown where Schwarzenegger says to him as he passes him in the club, good luck, essentially passing the torch to him. But there's a double-edged sword in the good luck, in that, go get him, but also let's see how long you can last, because action heroes don't usually last too long. So maybe this is the part where what's that?
Were you a Ballers guy?
Yeah, I liked Ballers for what it was.
I like Ballers too. Like, it's a different side of him. It just allows him to act, even though I still find him tough to believe as a romantic lead.
I think that's the next step, is for him maybe to go back to TV for a series. I mean, we've seen Schwarzenegger doing Fubar, which is not good, but a lot of people apparently watching it. And Stallone was good in Tulsa King. So
I don't think you do. I don't think you do unless it's perfect.
Really? What about a Tyler Sheridan 10
you are
episode
the
series?
marquee. You're not just anybody. You are the marquee movie star of the world. You don't see Leo doing a series. You don't see Denzel doing a series.
Those guys, he is not in their league. Be honest.
Denzel, listen, no, seriously, that's Denzel's whole philosophy. Is like, if you want to see Denzel, baby, you got to pay to see Denzel.
Yep.
He doesn't come with your fucking subscription.
Nope. I know Denzel's always been about that from the beginning. From St. Elsewhere on, he has been very focused on being a movie star.
If I was Dwayne, I would stick with film, but you just gotta mix it up.
Yeah.
Even like a crime movie, like something gritty. So do an indie. I don't know.
It's not going to be believable, though. He's not that strong of an actor, Jeff. Snitch, which
he's
Rick
not
Coleman,
Batista, I don't think he's terrible.
Batista is way better than The Rock.
Batista is better. But I don't think that Dwayne is a bad actor.
Do you think there's a Marvel role out there for him that could maybe put some money back in his pocket and wash Black Adam away?
Play this game because that's not the answer, and he damn well knows it.
Okay. All right.
I'm not even going to speculate.
Fair enough. Real quick, let's hit some of these Streamlabs. Travis Earl says, now for the most pressing. What's up?
Hold on. Anybody who fucking spoils Dave, I will come to your house.
Dave.
I still haven't watched the finale.
Imagine being this upset about the finale of Dave. Travis Earl says, now for the most pressing issue of the day. Have you seen the new season of I Think You Should Leave yet? The Dog Door sketch is an all-timer. I haven't. I don't like the guy. His humor doesn't work for me, so I don't watch it. Jeff, did you watch it?
I haven't watched it yet. Okay. I do like some of the sketches, but I think if I had to weigh in on the is this guy for me, it would be a no for me, Doug.
Yeah.
I am not that kind of I think you should leave fanatic.
Yeah.
But he does have some good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I got through 4 episodes of the first season. I'm like, I haven't laughed once. What is this nonsense? What is this? It's sometimes some humor is like just like kind of waspy, and I'm like, yeah, it's not for me. It's for you all. It's not for me.
You think it's
I am Too Fly Cam says, hello guys, happy June. Well, looks like Little Mermaid is tracking to go under 500 million worldwide at the box office. That is dreadful, very, very bad. Do you think it's the woke war on Disney, or the movie was just not accepted by audiences? Yeah, Jeff, what do you think about this?
It seemed like it opened well, no?
Yeah. I'm looking right now to see if that's where it's at right now in terms of it's going to pass the animated original right now to where it's at. Yeah, this was 5 hours ago from Collider.
Was expected. I think it did what was expected, right? I mean,
it ended up grossing about 163.8 million during its opening weekend, which was 20 million short of what was estimated. But a couple of days it was expected a big budget, so it was expected to pass 200 million. It's made 130 million domestically, another 79 million for a running total global haul of 209 million. The movie cost 250 million to produce. So I don't know if maybe that's an issue in the long run about the woke situation. Probably, I would imagine so. We're finding out that has more power than we thought. That a lot of people won't go see these films.
So.
You know?
Really? You think so? Is the Little Mermaid?
Yes, I do. I really do. Yeah. The review bombing, all those things that are happening to these films, they are really affecting the overall and it's happening worldwide, by the way. IMDb had to change their assessment on how they rate films overseas. They turned it off on China. China turned off their measuring system because people were review bombing Little Mermaid. So I think it's racism top to bottom because it's a black
review lead. Again, review bombing is different than.
Well, it drives the scores down. It affects people go looking at the score going, oh, I don't want to go see it if it's that bad. It affects things.
I don't know. If you're looking for a computer score to tell you what movies to see, I think you're already kind of lost.
Jeff, I know that you live in the 1970s when people went to movies and like really looked at. No, that's not what's happening. The new generation now looks at numbers and goes, fuck this. I'm going to go do something else. I'm telling you, it's a sad truth of it.
So bad.
Like Taika said, no one knows the director of Casablanca, apparently. You know, like Taika was saying.
Should we talk about the Taika stuff?
Yeah, we'll talk about the Taika stuff. Let's finish one last thing. Peter Can't Talk Right Now says, sup, fellas? After Succession, I read David Milch's unmade HBO pilot Money, which was really similar and would have starred Brendan Gleeson in the Logan role. Is there a TV show that you heard good things about in development, or even a pilot that never got made? I don't know anything offhand. Should we circle back to that?
What exactly is the question?
Is there a pilot that you heard of that never got made, but you were excited to see, but it never got made?
I mean, there are pilots that they doesn't. I don't know if I understand the question. There are pilots that got made that we never saw.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
I would kill, and I know people who have seen it. I know people who have copies, but I would kill to watch the Nikki Fink series on HBO. That was going to start Diane Keaton as Tilda with Elliot Page.
What? Really?
Ooh, that was made. They made, I think, like 3 episodes or something.
Wow.
Like, that's never been seen. I think, the Corrections pilot is supposedly one of the great lost pilots based on the Francis novel. That was like with Ewan McGregor and Donald Sutherland. Everyone thought that was going to be a huge shit show. HBO. I mean, it's like people don't understand those kinds of moves, and the fact that we're even talking about them 10 years later or whatever makes them obviously they're memorable decisions.
Right.
These are the kinds of tough decisions that need to be made, and that's why HBO is fucking HBO. Okay, because they develop all kinds of shows.
Yeah,
including some real prestige shows with huge people, and they never see the light of day because HBO is just like, this isn't up to snuff.
I think mine would be the remember the George Lucas? There was a George Lucas show called was it Underground or Under? And it was all set in like the seedy underbelly of a Star Wars town, and you were seeing Underworld. I think it was called Underworld, and you were following the gangsters in the underworld of Star Wars. And Lucas had apparently written 68 episodes of it, and they were kind of, I think they were 20, 30, 40% into working it and getting it ready when he sold it. He sold Star Wars to Disney. So I would have loved to have seen that. And there are elements apparently in some of the Mandalorian episodes and what have you. But yeah, I would have been down to see that series for sure. All right, let's move over to the Taika Waititi thing. Go ahead, bring it. What do you got with Taika? What do you got?
I just people obviously note that we talk about diversity a lot on this show, and I have said my piece on the inclusion standards and all that shit. But someone sent this to me and was basically, and it was somebody who had basically like worked with Taika or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were like, I think that this is spot on about the diversity stuff, but you guys be the judge,
Okay.
He said, I think the word diversity is wrong. I think that the idea of diversification of the screen is not quite right because it's actually confusing everyone. And what's happening is we're mistaking that for we have to include a person from every single race and every single background and every single part of the human experience in every show or everything that we make. And that's not reality. Right. It's not authentic. He noted that he didn't grow up with a group of friends comprised of people from every racial background. And that's true. Our entertainment has kind of just become like, the United Colors of Benetton, for lack of a better term, which I don't even know what that fucking means because I'm too young to get the reference. I just know that's what people sort of said to describe, this casting where it's all the colors of the rainbow and everybody under the sun.
Yeah.
And he was arguing on behalf of more shows. Like if you're doing a native show, like a Reservation Dogs, or whatever it is, it should be run by, people from that show. We don't need a white guy sort of running the show and telling us what to do and everything like that, which is part of what we're going to talk about later, right? Yeah. With the Lost thing. So,
yeah.
But at the same time, we can't just give in to this idea that we need to have, if you look at commercials these days, it's all interracial couples. And that's wonderful. Especially for commercials. I don't give a fuck who's in fucking commercials.
Right.
Go nuts. But it in terms of stories, sometimes it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I mean, I understand what he's saying, and I think it's always a case by case basis. That's the way I've always looked at these things, right? If it makes sense to include, for a show like Friends, dinging it for not having more characters of color, more that was reflective of a metropolitan city like New York, I think that's a valid criticism, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Right, yeah, and in Seinfeld, yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't like there weren't black actors or there weren't black characters or people of color characters. Right. There were, but it wasn't consistent enough, right? So, and that's back then, right? We're going to get into stuff from back then in a little bit. But nowadays, I understand. I think we do need to evolve the idea of diversity. I think initially for me, when I came onto the scene, I was just saying like, we need representation. Representation matters. But people always try to twist it like, well, you're just saying they need to include these characters. Well, no, it's always been, those of us who are smart about this stuff, it's always been like organically making it make sense in the plot or in the story that you're telling. So yeah, I think diversity can come in many different ways. And you don't have to do, as Jeff said, the United Colors of Benetton in order for your stuff to pass. Because we're like Grease, The Rise of the Pink Ladies, I'm not watching that show because they basically did that. Let's get an Asian girl, let's get a Latina girl, let's get a black girl, let's get a white girl. And then it's like, I get it. I get what you're trying to do. But for me, it just kind of tunes me out because that's not how it really works. And me growing up, I didn't see a lot of that. It just has to work organically in the story you're trying to tell if it makes sense. Now, where I think the thing gets tripped up is too many stories get greenlit that don't have people of color in them. And that's where it becomes a glaring situation. And I think that's where the pendulum was swinging the last few years to might have forced these creators to include characters like this. But then you see something like Ted Lasso, which was, for me, the way they treated their characters of color was a massive disappointment. I mean, that's one of the biggest dings on that series because they turned them all into shiny, happy people. And the ones that were angry who were people of color, especially in this last season, were seen as kind of not the way to do things or seen as too aggressive. And you're having white male creators try to tell you how people of color should be. And that should have never happened. And so that's where we find the deficiency in trying to include characters like this. You've also got to honor characters like this. And that doesn't
again, is it the actor or is it the character? Is it like
it's the character, I think.
I watched that Ted Lasso finale, right?
Yeah.
Noted like, geez, that therapist, the black therapist, is
right.
kind of just sitting on the bed, clapping and cheering. She has nothing else to do this episode. Now, is that because she's black, or because she's the therapist? Yeah, I mean, you're just like, this was really the impetus for an entire season, and now she's relegated to like a footnote in this finale. And
she was in the opening episode.
Everything.
Right, she was in the opening episode, and she was in the last episode. That's it. And yeah, you're right. She was relegated to that kind of thing. But that was the last episode. So everybody was showing up and they had all these recurring characters come back to be part of this game or watch.
And what you say is interesting for a show that was basically like, well, this whole thing it was never about me. Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's never about me. Well, then who? It wasn't about it. This guy wasn't about her. Who was it about? So
it's called Ted Lasso. So it was about you, motherfucker.
But to steer this back on track, like with the what Taika Waititi was saying. He was saying like, he said if I watch Beef, I'm like I'm good. That's enough for me. I see Atlanta. I see myself. I see Reservation Dogs. I'm seeing myself. So like I think not only. Back in the day, if it was like, oh, are you watching the show with Asian leads? It's like some sort of martial arts show, right?
Right. Yeah, sure.
Allowed these sort of shit. And so we are making these shows now that maybe traditionally, Beef, it's to road rage. Great. Which white people can we get in it? Well, actually, that's not like necessarily the point of this story. Yeah. Both of the drivers, are going to be Asian. And so I think there's a different range of stories that are now being allowed to be told. So I agree with him that like, and that's okay. White people can have their show too. And when you say that there's different things, I thought you brought up a really good point. Sorry, with the thing about diversity. Diversity to me is not about the color of your skin. Right. It's about the lens through which you view the world. Yes. Right now, obviously, it's not about the color of a black person's skin. It's about their viewing the world and experiencing the world as a black person. Right. And I think that there's things that white people are dealing with or go through that it's a different kind of lens. And you could have a show like Friends, maybe, and have 6 white people, but there is diversity there because they're experiencing different hardships and things like that. And that's diversity to me.
Yeah, agreed. Something like because you've got to have like Severance, right? Severance, that's a white focused show, right? It's very clearly a white focused show. You do have characters of color in the show, but it is very much a white-focused show, or High Desert, same kind of thing. But I'm okay with that. Just like the Wes Anderson stuff, I'm okay with those films, those shows existing.
Let me ask you a question.
There's a balance to happen in other places. There's more of it happening is what I'm trying to get to. Yeah.
Do you think that Apple shows in particular are geared at white audiences because maybe white audiences are considered a little bit more affluent and maybe more likely to own Apple products and have subscriptions?
I don't know that they're necessarily catered to that. I think those are the most successful ones, which is what I find interesting. Like, right, like there was the Foundation that was led by a black actress. Silo is very much a multicultural cast as well. I didn't watch The Shrinking, but look, all I saw is Jason Segel and Harrison Ford, which are two white guys. Lasso is essentially almost all white people with a couple
very white bread programming. Is that sort of what I'm getting at?
But there is, the Jennifer Garner one that just came out. Certainly. I mean, there are some stuff that's on there, like Schmigadoon, Keegan-Michael Key. There is some stuff that's on there that have black leads or have like, but yes, it's predominantly white. Like Hello Tomorrow was almost an all-white cast. So yeah, a predominantly white cast. And I don't know what I think the Tom what the fuck,
Isn't that
Spider-Man
in the
guy
Midwest though, like Hello Tomorrow, like I
right exactly.
Anyways, it was an interesting thing that this person sent about Taika because they kind of thought that his whole point was spot on.
Yeah, I don't know, he's starting to talk a lot as if he's the guy on the mountain, and it's starting to irritate me a little bit, to be honest with you.
Especially the WGA stuff was annoying.
Yes, he was too flippant about, I can't write shit, I'm just making it up on the fly. I get it. You're being funny, but you're also doing that from a place of privilege and wealth in terms of the station that you're in now. Of course, you came from poor quarters, but the station you're in now, you've got to remember that. And I get it. You want to be funny.
Writers, fighting about something, whatever they want. Who gives a shit? Like, he does not sweating it because he's getting paid. He's probably under some overall deal and getting paid more money than I make in a year just to walk back and forth on a picket line somewhere, But
he hasn't even shown up on a picket line, and that's what the WGA strike captain called him out on Twitter. He has not walked the picket line yet. So if you're going to joke about it, at least ante up. That's what I would say too.
Good point. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah. Was it Tupac? Oh yeah, Tupac Dear Mama on Hulu. Yeah, I need to see that for sure. I need to watch that documentary. So yeah, exactly.
Let's take a break.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's take a quick break. What do you want to jump into after the break, man? We'll figure it out.
We'll talk about the lost stuff.
All right. Strap in, y'all. Strap in. Send in your Streamlabs and Super Chats as we jump into the second half of the show. We've got 500 of you watching us right now, so make sure you hit a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. Trying to get to 50,000 subscribers. We're at June 1st, so by December 31st, it is a 6-month run now to get to 50,000. Help us do that if you haven't done that yet. We'll be right back right after this. All right, Mr. Sneider, let's get into the madness of this article. Vanity Fair published an excerpt from a book here from Maureen Ryan. Her new book is called Burn It Down. And this excerpt, which was a very extensive and long excerpt, which was really smart by the publishers there of the book to get people excited to read this thing. And it dove into the behind-the-scenes drama and the toxicity and the racism and the misogyny that allegedly was going on behind the scenes at Lost. And this, there were criticisms of Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse, who were the showrunners. Carlton Cuse, I think, came in the third season. Damon being there with JJ in the first season and going forward with that. Harold Perrineau was the focus of the article and had the most damning quotes, or some of the most damning quotes, about the situation there. There was accusations of racism and that they were culturally insensitive to black men and their sons. There was accusations from a number of the female writers about Carlton Cuse and Damon Lindelof taking credit, about them calling the only Asian writer on the show, quote, Korean, and just calling that person, nicknaming them Korean, kind of like what you see in 30 Rock with Token. You saw that in real life, apparently. And there was a lot of accusations of actors that the show, as we just mentioned earlier, just a few seconds ago, the show was focused on the white characters only, and everyone else was seen as supplementary to needs in what they were doing in the show. And it's much more damning than I'm giving it credit for. You guys have to read it. It's very, very extensive. But these were the accusations across the board at them. And, Jeff, it was pretty damning, especially Monica Owusu-Breen, who was a writer on Lost Season 3. She talked about the toxicity of it all. There was so much shit. She said so much racist shit And then laughter, it was ugly. I was like, I don't know if they're perceiving this as a joke or if they mean it, but it wasn't funny. It was horrible. There was tokenism. And I know Javier Grillo Marshall tweeted this article and said, finally, I can, speak my piece about this situation. He quit after season 2, being a writer on that show as well. Lindelof pushed back a little bit, but certainly took responsibility, but then also tried to hide by that thing of like, I don't remember it like that. If he feels that way, that's a shame. I don't remember it. Carlton Cuse, though, was much more defiant in his retort and said that if anybody had issues, they could have gone to HR, would have addressed it, which is, of course, utter horseshit. Because the reason these people don't go to, especially when they're starting out, they don't go and do anything is because you're going to retaliate against them. And certainly Harold Perrineau accused Lindelof of retaliating against him, wanting to have more agency in his character's storyline by firing him. So, Jeff, your thoughts as you read this article that was pretty brutal in its description of the treatment that a lot of people had on the show.
Complicated thoughts. I'll say that.
Please.
Complicated thoughts. I'll say this. There's a lot of ugly stuff in that article.
Yes, there is.
I believe every word of it.
Yeah.
And I think Mo Ryan's a great journalist, and I definitely want to read that book.
I pre-ordered it right after I read that article, dude.
You have to understand, I am also someone who worked at the Wrap twice.
Yeah.
There have been stories written and I didn't contribute to those stories, just to be completely honest with everybody. I don't do people like that because I've been the victim of that kind of shit.
Fair enough.
But I've worked in toxic workplaces for toxic bosses.
Ditto.
And it's tough. Like I wouldn't really wish it on anybody, I remember and this wasn't at the Wrap. This was at Variety one time. I remember vomiting into a wastebasket at Variety.
Yeah.
Wow. So I completely empathize with these people.
Yeah.
At the same time, I have to say, there are people who, and think about writers, right? They sit at home, they like to write their little stories, and that's great, Just because you do that doesn't mean you should be writing in the industry for television. I think it's a pretty cutthroat business.
Yeah.
And I think that not that I'm condoning any, particularly the racial stuff that's in these rooms, but I have to say my jaw dropped, and not in the way that you guys are thinking. The thing that made my jaw drop, and this won't make me popular, I couldn't believe it when Lindelof said, I would trade every person who told you that I was talented. I would rather they say I was untalented but decent rather than a talented monster. Are you fucking kidding me, Damon Lindelof? Is that what little boys dream of? What do you want to be when you grow up, little Jeffy? Well, I don't really care what I grow up to be so long as I grow up to be nice. What the fuck? Dude, own it a little bit.
You got to own it.
And clearly there were two different schools of approaches in terms of the response to this article, considering Damon is very apologetic, which I think is obviously the way to go.
Yeah.
But Carlton Cuse was like, yeah, that's how it was. And?
Right.
He was like, sorry, people are upset, but I'm the showrunner. It's kind of my way or the highway. That's how we do things here in television. I do think that there are certain issues that are being conflated. You ask, who is Lost about? Right. Well, it was always about Jack and Kate and Sawyer and that love triangle, and then there was this fucking crazy dude, Locke. Yeah. And you know what? I'm sorry. Those 4 people were white, and they deserve to be paid more. So Harold Perrineau, even though he may have been as experienced as Matthew Fox was, and he was the star of Oz, and he was a great actor. Yeah. It sucks what happened to him. If that is, his version of events, it's I don't understand. At no point should the entire, when Damon Lindelof was like, oh yeah, the whole cast should have been paid the same thing. Are you fucking kidding me? No, they shouldn't have. Especially Matthew Fox. Matthew Fox was the star of Party of 5. He's a star of the show. indisputably. He should have been paying more. I'm sorry, he's a white guy.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about this? I mean, do you think Harold Perrineau should be making as much as the 4 stars of Lost?
Here's what I'll tell you. The way the article or the way the excerpt lays it out is that they went and recruited Harold to be a lead in the show, one of the leads of the show. Okay.
Yes.
So when you go from that perception, then yes, absolutely. I think he's got every right, because you can't compare the storylines of Party of Five in terms of acting talent and ability to the storylines of fucking Oz.
Harold Perrineau is way better. No one's arguing Matthew Fox is on the level of actor of Harold Perrineau.
But I don't know how many people were tuning in. Yeah, fair. But I don't know how many people were tuning in for Matthew Fox. Get real. Like, Terry O'Quinn wasn't putting butts in seats. Nobody fucking heard of Evangeline Lilly this side of a 976 number commercial.
Do you think people were watching for Harold Perrineau?
I don't think anybody was watching for anybody. That's the thing. I think there was reviews that were really positive about this show, and they spent a lot of money. As you saw in the article, how much that episode cost was crazy. So they clearly believed in the show. JJ pitched this. They believed in it. They put money behind it, and they came out great. So these people became stars. I think what Perrineau is talking about is that he was pitched a certain thing, and then the writers did not develop him and develop him and Walt and develop that relationship, didn't make him central to the storylines of the show. And I think that's a fair argument to have. You know, people get upset when they're pitched a certain thing and they don't get to be mixed in with the show. And then him talking about him being on the fringes when taking pictures. I don't remember the show being negative towards the 2 Korean actors. I like that. We had an interracial relationship, but I do remember the Perrineau situation was something that bothered me because they didn't do enough. And it was a criticism when you're watching, like, why does Walt disappear and they doesn't even talk about him anymore?
There's
people made those
criticisms. A lot of weirdness around that storyline in particular.
So I think he's got validity, but both things can be true, Jeff.
No one's saying he doesn't.
Right. And I'm just saying that both things can be true in that they saw that they could make more money focusing on the white characters, and clearly that philosophy worked because they were a hit show for many years.
If that's what they see, if that's what they're seeing, right? Well, we can make more money focusing on the white characters, but why can't they do that? Yeah, this is a business. This is about getting ratings. If white people were the ones watching network television at that time, what do you want from them other than to serve that audience? I mean, I think that Lost did indeed start out as an ensemble show, even though it opened on Jack's Eye. Like it was fairly ensemble driven early on, but naturally, and they were making this up as they went along, as we all know by now, right?
Yeah, I mean, really, that's why there was so much drama.
And you know, that love triangle is what rose to the surface.
Yes,
and John Locke was quite clearly, I think, the best character.
Yeah,
early on. I think with me just thinking of Walkabout as the standout episode.
But he was the best character because they spent time developing his backstory. They spent time showing you this guy who was in a wheelchair who can walk now and all this. And Terry O'Quinn is a fucking great actor. No denying that. But you can't tell me you couldn't have done that for Harold Perrineau's character and made him just as essential to the show. The writers didn't. And
he
I
wanted
something right to have a
It's a different show. He was talking about like black fathers and sons and stereotypes. And I'm like, this is a lot for like a show about a plane crash to be exploring. Like, this, particularly as you want it to be a central storyline. Like, there's only so much you can do, I'm saying, on an island.
Right, but what Harold is saying, don't introduce this storyline if you're not going to fucking honor it. And I think he's got a right to say that. And
he was disappointed how the show used him. But I think that there's a million actors who are disappointed with how shows use them. And they don't, not that he's playing the race card, because I think he has some valid points here.
He's trying to educate.
Okay, right, and I know he's just trying to have the conversation. I'm glad that we're having it, but I do think like that pay thing in particular. I'm like, and then it's like this is one for you and your people, John. Like he's talking about how the Latino character Hurley is just like portrayed as this fat slob. Yep. Now, what if they just have this character who's a fat slob? Do we want? Well, he's a fat slob, so we can't cast a Latino character because then we look racist. So now we should give the role to a white guy. Is that how we want it to go? Like, do we have to have people of color portrayed saintly and can't play a fat slob if that's the character? I don't get it. I don't get what they want.
Right. Well, there was the other Latino character who the eye mascara guy. I forget the actor's name who played the character he played in Lost, and he was really interesting and brutal and complex and different. I think Hugo, is that what was the I forget the character's name. It's been
Hurley,
so
and that's one of my
Hurley.
favorite characters. I don't mean to diminish him by calling him fat slob. I'm just like, that's what he's reduced to.
Right, Jorge Garcia. And look, they didn't, they showed his backstory, the lottery and all that kind of stuff. And Hurley became a star of the show because of his performances. And hero. Yeah, fair. And he was really good in the role that he played, but he hasn't done much since Lost that I've seen. So you wonder, well, was this just a flash in the pan type of situation? The perfect actor for the perfect moment in the perfect role that got him into a good situation to be a star. But I mean, I think Harold, I think you can make these complaints in 2023, but back then, man, no one was listening to these complaints. And I think Harold makes a valid point that still resonates today. As I just mentioned about Ted Lasso, if you're going to include characters of color, and if you're going to include things with characters of color, like the cultural impact of Black fathers not being there for their Black sons, which has been a stereotype that the right has used multiple times, you've got to honor that. And if you're a white writer, a white showrunner, you got to shut the fuck up and listen. And too many white writers are caught up sticking their heads up their asses, thinking they know more than these actors, these movable props, and they get mad about it. Yet they want us to support them walking on the fucking picket lines. Fuck off. Make a decision. Be smart. Listen, just like you would like people to listen to your bullshit. Listen to other people's bullshit and learn. And I think that's what Harold is saying at the end of the day. He's not trying to crucify Lindelof or Hughes. He's saying they didn't listen when I tried to explain to them about the cultural impact of Black fathers leaving their Black sons. This is not something I want to support. Look, they offered me all kinds of terrorist roles in the early 2000s as an actor, and I never went out for them. I refused. I lost an agent because I wouldn't do that, because I didn't want to play into those stereotypes that just because I had a little brown on my skin, I could play a Middle Eastern person trying to blow people up. So there are decisions you make.
That's the decision you made,
yes,
right?
Of course.
Someone made the decision to take that role. And to me, it just feels like 10 years later, they're like, yeah, and that role was super racist too. It's like, okay, but you took it. You like, no one's making you do.
But he took it with the promise that it was going to be more. And when he couldn't get them to do more, that's what left a bad taste in his mouth. And then he was fired.
Promises in network television to an actor.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah. But
come on.
Yeah, but I do think Lindelof is a little bit being, how can I say this? Convenient when he's saying, I don't remember it that way. It's
of course.
Yeah.
But absolutely. And there are like other like disturbing things. Like I thought all the Mr. Echo stuff was bad.
Oh, that was a rough.
That was all, like, there's nothing I can, and you guys know me. I'd say it if I could. There's nothing I can say to defend that shit.
Yeah, and for those who haven't read the article, one of the writers was talking about the fact that because they had issues with the actor who played Echo, who of course was in the first Suicide Squad movie, and he was Adebisi in Oz, another actor from Oz.
Adewale Akinyoye Akaje.
Yeah, and I thought he was great, by the way, as Echo. I thought he was overshadowing everybody in the show when he came on. They wanted to kill him off, and apparently there were issues behind the scenes with him. And Hughes is accused of wanting to hang him from a tree as a death scene and cut his
someone
penis off and put it in his mouth. And they had to make him aware of the fact that you're talking about a lynching. And so that's the kind of insensitivity that sometimes people of color who are writers or actors or creators have to run into with white writers or white creators who don't. It doesn't mean they're racist. It just means they're not aware of what they're doing.
Cultural blind spot. And that's the distinction, though, that I think is worth making. Like, I didn't really get the impression that these guys were racist. It's just like they're not thinking that, when you're talking about hanging a black man from a tree in the jungle, that's the imagery that you're conjuring, bro. Yeah, right. I grant all of that. I thought it was a fucking fascinating excerpt from Orion. And by the way, that's in her book. So she's had that for a long time. And she's had that story. It's pretty amazing. I would do the first question I got like on Twitter privately was like, do you think Disney knew this was coming? This is what I was just going to ask you this, because this came up on the Jedi Way plug. Our new show is up right now. I asked Laura Kelly and Kevin Smets about this. Do you think Disney knew this was coming out? Because Jeff, you've been in the business, you've written stuff,
these studios get tipped about stuff that's coming. So
all
and
publishing companies and shit like that.
yeah, and certainly Kathleen has not been hesitant to get people off of projects where they've either made a bad movie or they've talked shit in the press, and it's going to look bad on the brand of Star Wars or Disney. So, do you think Kathleen saw this coming? You've got a person of color director, female director. You've got a writer here. So, do you think that maybe Kathleen was like, "Yeah, we don't need this shit. Let's move him off of this, and we'll bring in somebody else."
From what I understand, I'd always, and I've said this, if you go back to whatever show, I'd heard that he did not turn in a good draft.
Okay,
he can say it was, like I just heard it did not go over well.
Yeah.
And within days, it was like, we need to do something else.
We need to get on out of here. And I do want to say one last thing about this, Jeff. And look, he did a Watchmen series, which was incredible. And then a lot of Black creators, Black actors, Black activists, Black reviewers spoke very positively about, because it highlighted something that a lot of white viewers, a lot of people, regardless of race, a lot of people in this country did not know about the Tulsa Massacre, did not know about Black Wall Street and what happened there in Oklahoma. And certainly we're about to see Killers of the Flower and Moon, which is another story that has been kind of buried by a white majority in this country to not tell the truth about what happened. So do you think that kind of buys him a little balance here? And of course, this is 17 years later, and he says he's grown. He says, like, right. Is there a space to be like, okay, this was a long time ago, but he's grown? Yeah.
I agree with that. I do think he was in his 30s. Like, the incredible, immense pressure, the responsibility that he was under, like, that was a pilot unlike any other.
Yeah.
Right? It was super expensive. Like, I can't imagine the weight that he felt on his shoulders. Right. And, you put people in a talented people, smart, brilliant people in a pressure cooker situation like that. It's sort of, bound to bring out the worst in people.
I can't even imagine.
I do think, someone also messaged me and was like, remember that quote in 40-Year-Old Virgin where it's like, you're putting the pussy on a pedestal. Okay. He's like, flip it. And we're putting pussies on pedestals these days. Like, you gotta toughen up a little bit about this stuff. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. You didn't, your storyline wasn't highlighted. You're still on the biggest show on television, getting paid God knows how much money. Like, suck it up. I'm sorry, your storyline didn't go the way you wanted. This, and I do think it's tough to say 17 years. Oh, Damon Lindelof, when I pass him today in the line for bagels, I'm going to give him the stink eye because he's a racist monster. This is from 17 years ago.
Yeah. Us as a society were not that people weren't listening. There were people speaking about this for decades, right? People have written about this for decades, but people weren't listening. It wasn't until Black Lives Matter, it wasn't until Me Too that people finally started listening to this stuff. And we're going a little farther out. And look, that happens. And we're going to balance it out eventually. The pendulum's going to swing back and we're going to find our happy medium. And we're getting there, even though people are upset about it. We're getting there. And I think this is an important thing to remember as a time capsule. That was back then, because that's also the time of Joss Whedon and the shit he was pulling on Buffy. And God knows there's probably a shit ton of showrunners, both male and female, because I saw this article spark a lot of people to talk about female showrunners who've been absolute terrors as well. And that there are a lot of female writers who came out and said, like, they shouldn't get a pass just because they're women. There is some shit that they've pulled on sets as showrunners that is as horrific as anything men have done or men have been accused of doing.
I talked about the rap. Who runs the rap?
Yeah,
a woman.
Right. Well,
I talked about which HBO show would I like to see. It was about Nikki Ving. Like, guys, and more power to him. Like, listen, Sharon taught me a lot, and it's been super impressive what she's done and elbowed a place for herself at the table. So like, you won't catch me really saying a bad word other than, okay, it was a tough environment. I feel like I could work for anybody though. The same way that Hollywood is run by the denizens, the former assistants of who?
I don't know. Of the worst.
Two people and their assistants run the entire town, John. Come on.
Go ahead, man. You tell me.
Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, God. Yeah.
And Scott Rudin.
Oh, yeah. Scott Rudin.
If you were Scott Rudin's assistant, you are running a production company somewhere right now. So it's like, dude, I mean, it is a complicated thing. If you can work for these people, you can work for anybody. And I'm a survivor. Say what you fucking will about me. So women have to be twice as bad as men sometimes in this industry. And I'm not going to say shame on them. Just, fuck, more power to them.
I don't know. I mean, like the Frankie Shaw stuff with Smilf. I mean, she's never recovered from that, no matter what anybody says.
She should be given a second chance too.
I think she should. Let her grow.
I'll get a second chance.
Yeah, I liked Smilf for all the drama behind the scenes. I really liked that show, so it was a shame when I heard about all that stuff. All right, let's see if we got any Streamlabs that have come through anymore. See, Doug Developer says, I don't want to sound naive, but do you really think other people of color really care that much that Ariel is black? It's all white people crying about it. So the film bombing in Asia could just mean they do not care about the film and not because it is woke. Well, it's a valid point, Doug, to bring up. I think there are multiple reasons. And yes, if you don't think there's racism within the actual cultures, you're insane. I mean, I've seen Latinos say the most horrible shit about black people. My own fucking family on my father's side, I've seen them use the N-word liberally at functions where I had to leave because I couldn't handle how casually they were. And I'm like, do you not understand what color skin you are? Like, there is racism, and there is racism between black and Asian communities, between Latino and Asian communities, Asian and other communities. There are absolutely racism within all the communities. Don't get it twisted. It isn't just white people. That shit happens all the time. Hell, there's racism within the Latino community of people saying they don't want other people coming over to be immigrants to our country, even though they themselves were immigrants at one point. So that's how deep and fucked up racism really is in our respective countries or respective communities. So I do think it's very possible that it could be because Ariel was black. I'm not saying it's the only reason, but it could be possible.
Right. And that's the thing. I don't think there's any question that, racism has really infected our country and it's only growing worse. For me, I think these people have already decided not to go see this movie. And then it's like, I'm not seeing that stupid movie. Plus she's black. I don't think anyone is like, I'm about to get in the car and go see The Little Mermaid. And wait, you're telling me she's black? Kids, get out of the car. I don't think it's like that.
It's woke.
And look at this. You see this?
That's an Apple
Press
TV.
5 times and you can watch The Little Mermaid. Click 5 buttons and I can watch The Little Mermaid right now on my television. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And I think that is why these movies maybe aren't doing as well as they used to, because you can just have all of these originals at the tip of your fingers. And there is a lot who before they even heard about the cast and they're like, they're remaking The Little Mermaid, I'm out.
Yeah, because that is such a review. Like, where The Lion King, of course, is a black story set in Africa, what have you, but Hamlet as well. That stood up to a live action remake. Aladdin stood up to a live action remake. There is a level of people have about The Little Mermaid. Like, there is a level of just kind of putting that on the pedestal. And there were more complaints than just Ariel being black. There were people who had issues with Ursula's look. In the movie, there were people who had issues with how the overall appearance of the actual fish and lobster, Sebastian and Flounder and Aquafina's character Scuttle. There were people had issues. So there were a number of issues around this movie already before you even get to Ariel being black. And by the way, Halle Bailey is the one universal thing that people are praising whether they like the movie or not. Halle Bailey has not been criticized in any of the reviews I've seen, even from people who are killing the movie. So that should tell you, it doesn't matter that she's black. She's super fucking talented. She nailed it. It's all the stuff around the movie. And look, it's Rob Marshall who did Mary Poppins Returns. And you could argue maybe hasn't done a damn good film since Chicago. And that was 23 years ago or 27 years ago. So it could also have something to do with that as well, that the reviews weren't that strong or that positive. So, that's throwing out there. Let's see.
I want to talk about this Ari Emanuel thing real quick. Did you see?
All right, I gotta take another break. We're at half an hour. Can we do that real quick and get back on these other things? I promise.
Yes.
How much time do you have, by the way? Another 15 minutes?
I have another half hour, whatever.
Okay. All right. We'll be right back right after this, and send in your Streamlabs and Super Chats as we go along here. We're going to answer them. We're going to answer them. Support the show and subscribe down below. We'll be right back after this. All right, Jeff. You said you've got some Ari Emanuel stuff that you guys want to talk about.
I mean, Richard Rushfield, the Ankler, just called him out for it today, 2 hours ago.
Wow.
And I was already planning to do the same. Someone sent me this excerpt from an interview that he did. And basically what their commentary was, imagine returning $400 million to somebody and not being sure why you did it. So Ari's quote is, he's talking about MBS, who is, the leader of, Saudi Arabia or whatever.
And by the way, Emanuel over at Endeavor, right? He's the head of Endeavor.
Yeah, he's one of the most powerful agents and just people in general in entertainment and really, the world. He says of MBS, he's incredible. I mean, he is as charming as could be. He had this whole vision, bringing entertainment and movies back, and he wanted to spend $30 billion in entertainment. Well, I mean, I can do math. $30 billion in entertainment. That's money. And I thought his vision was incredible. So we negotiated. It took about 9 months of negotiation for them to invest. I think it was $400 million. And then, I think a bad thing happened. But let's be very clear about something. I'm not defending what they did. I've had a brother. He's been in 2 White Houses. Every country does bad things. They just don't do it in an embassy.
It's true.
This is referring to the death of Jamal Khashoggi, the journalist who they hacked to death in the embassy.
Yes.
He said he didn't rule out doing business with the kingdom in the future. Asked why he then paid the investment back, Ari Emanuel said, I don't know. I just, I don't really know. You don't really know. Holy shit, dude. Are you fucking kidding me? Dude, these people...
Yeah,
I'm telling you, it doesn't matter what they say. Focus on what they do.
Yeah.
Now he did give the money back.
Yeah, but look, he is part of Endeavor, which just purchased the WWE. The WWE just had a pay-per-view, a Premier Live event rather, in Saudi Arabia. They signed a 10-year contract 3 or 4 years ago to do business in Saudi Arabia. And so the prince there, it behooves them to push the theory that the prince is like really progressive and he's changing things. And I saw women working at jobs in the airports and all these kinds of things. But in the end, the Khashoggi thing is massive. Okay. Right. That is a murder of a journalist.
Chopping to pieces.
Yeah. And then denied involvement. Trump let him get away with it. Biden hasn't really come after him about it. So that should tell you the power of Saudi Arabia. Now, Ari did this for PR's sake and what have you. But if he's in bed with Dana White and he's in bed with Vince McMahon, Saudi Arabia isn't that much of a leap. Let me just tell you right now, it's not that much of a leap. So let's be realistic. I mean, Dana was slapping his wife around just a few weeks ago on video, which was horrible to see.
Horrible, but he didn't behead his wife either.
No, he didn't. No, but and if you tell me that's the first time he's done that, I'm going to sell you some swampland in Florida. So, I mean, these are the things that you see that are just terrible. So you're going to see that the business is what's going to matter. So that's why I'm trying to break people of this idea that Hollywood is fucking liberal or progressive. It really fucking isn't, people. Right. It's about money, and the people in charge are about money, and they will look the other way if they can get away with it, if it means a lot of money, or if they can suffer the PR hit. And I say this as Andy Muschietti came out and said he is not going to recast The Flash, that if they do a sequel, it is going to stay Ezra Miller. And he said no one else could possibly play Ezra Miller as well as Ezra Miller, or The Flash as well as Ezra Miller.
Are we on this topic? Wait,
I'm just saying it's all connected because they see that you can make money off the situation.
MBS, Saudi Arabia, Ezra Miller, it's all connected.
Charlie Day, I'm doing Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny. I'm connected.
What are you talking about?
I'm just saying people will look the other way if it behooves them to do so in Hollywood, no matter what, no matter how unsavory the situation is. Right?
Yes, we are all joined by the almighty buck.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, John. We are all slaves to it for sure.
That's why I call it out. I know it costs me followers and subscribers, but it stays true to who I am, which is why I love doing the hot mic with you, man, because we will call it out. And now you may not always agree with me, Jeff, and I appreciate that, but I don't always agree with you either. But it's great.
No, I wouldn't expect anyone who's agreeing with me all the time needs to have their head checked out. But
should we move on to some other stories, or do you want to answer? Do you want to go into this a little bit more?
I mean, we listen. We can move on. It's just the hypocrisy is just kind of stunning.
Of course. Well, of course. And then Ari's going to be the first one to kind of create these.
But credit. I wanted to give credit to Richard Russia for even noting in his own newsletter, like they've been running ads for Neom, which is that like village that they're building in the, like that is the kingdom.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I'm not naive to the realities of our business, right?
Right.
And the fact that, yes, a lot of good journalism,
right,
which, we need, is financed by blood money, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But whether it's, I don't know who knit this clothes. I don't know who put together this phone,
Right. I'm wearing a Nike shirt right now.
And so
I made it in a sweatshop. Probably.
And so it's tough to say, well, fuck these media companies for taking this money.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you can note it and criticize them, but it's tough to really blame them at the end of the day, because the media business is in tough shape. We have no choice but to go take those ads from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's the sad truth of it, honestly. So,
right.
Yeah, Elise is right. Elise says you'll call it out, but you'll still see the movie, which is a part of the problem. Well, Elise, do I spit on all the production people who are involved? Do I spit on the other actors who are involved because of Ezra Miller? These are the things, art by art. I bet, Elise, if I went to your house, I might see some books, some videos. Do you have any Miramax films that you own? Because if you do, you're supporting Harvey Weinstein. So this is how deep it can go. And we can go all the way to the base of everything. And eventually you'll get to a shitty person whose content you own or possess. So it's unless you're going to end up living in the woods, it's really hard to. So you have to go on a case by case basis and what you can feel comfortable doing. I'm not doing a Ezra Miller watch along or watching all their movies and doing a whole thing on it. I'm going to see it for Michael Keaton, and I'm going to see it for Ben Affleck and Michael Shannon. That's my point. But you can call me out on it. I totally respect that.
There's a question of where is the line. There are people who are boycotting, who are outside of Warner Brothers. They spent their Friday picketing Warner Brothers, right? They spent 6 hours walking back and forth in front of Warner Brothers. And then on Sunday night, what did they do? They went and flipped on Max and they watched Succession.
Right.
So it's like, are we boycotting these people? Are we really mad at them? Are we picketing them? Or, we that's how we spend our day. But by night, we go home and watch Netflix.
And to be fair, they gave them their just desserts, those spoiled little brats. So
speaking of Max, John.
Yes.
And just like that.
Yes, go ahead.
Kim Cattrall.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about it. Kim Cattrall is, we thought The Rock coming back to Fast and the Furious was a big deal. And of course, that came afterwards. But Kim Cattrall announced earlier this week that she will return as Samantha Jones in Just Like That. But it's only going to be a cameo. People were running this, trying to get clicks off of this, like she was coming back to be a part of the show full time. No, it's just a cameo, Jeff. So do you think this is a big deal? Because it could just be a fucking Zoom call. And
it's like a 1 or 2 minute appearance.
Like she'll record it wild, probably. And then the other actresses will come in and react to what she's saying.
Yeah,
they will not be going back and forth.
Talking into an empty telephone. They're just Tim, all we need you to do is just go into your kitchen, pick up a phone.
Yeah.
You can pick up a banana if you want. We don't give a shit. Hold it like this. I will get a camera crew there. We'll do your makeup. You'll shoot it for 2 minutes and you're done. And you don't have to talk to anybody, meet anybody, talk to the director. I mean, the fact that I didn't think she talked to Sarah Jessica Parker, but she didn't even talk to Michael Patrick King. It was like, holy shit. They just sent like a PA down there,
they did her dirty, man. And so she's like, fine, I'll come back. I'll get paid, but fuck it. I'm not going to do a whole series with them. No, hell no.
I got to tell you, I watched every episode of Sex and the City and I couldn't do it just like that. I watched like an episode or two and I was like, I'm out.
I think that's a great example of them overcorrecting. That's a great example of a show that overcorrected to include diversity. And it does not work organically in the show. Right. I love Sarah Ramirez, but it does not work. Just like the new Law and Order. Oh, it is abhorrent to watch the new Law and Order. Everybody is politically correct. And I'm like, no, that's not what the fucking show is about. And it's New York. Nobody's fucking politically correct who works with the cops or detectives in New York. That's one of the charms of the original Law and Order, is that it is, insensitive at times. Not all the time, but insensitive at times. But you have like Anthony Anderson in that first season calling out Jeffrey Donovan at any moment. Cameron Manheim comes in and does, like, it is horrific to watch Law and Order now.
Right.
It is terrible, man. So,
thank God for Ice-T, who keeps it real. Ice-T doesn't he doesn't know what he's allowed to get away with or say. Should I have not said that?
6 o'clock in the morning. All right, let's move on to let's hit the Armie Hammer stuff. Jeff, this is fascinating, especially because
hit it hard.
Speaking of Max, I finished watching House of Hammer recently, so this news story is like very much top of mind for me.
That, bro? Why would
it
you
was
watch that?
It was so good. It was so fucking good. It was so good.
You can smell it from here.
I know, it is unseemly how much the Hammers have been a part of West Coast politics and money and fortune for decades, for generations, and hearing
the conspiracy.
What's that?
I said it's all conspiracy. They're all connected.
Just hearing the horrific things that his father did, his grandfather did to numerous women in their lives, and then having his aunt, his father's sister, who is a member of the bloodline of the family Hammer, like, wrote a whole book about this, called this all out, talked about it. And when you watch the Armie Hammer texts, the Armie Hammer videos, you're just like, how the fuck did they come back and say that he will not face sexual assault charges in LA? It is unsettling, the shit that you saw. And it drives me even more nuts that Robert Downey Jr. is lending his cachet and brand, that people love Robert, to kind of guide Armie out of this situation. If he really did physically abuse these women and assault these women and violate their consent, then what the fuck are you doing, Robert Downey Jr.? And I don't mind calling you out about it. I get it. You're a former addict. You want to help someone else who's maybe a sex addict, maybe. But like, this is some of the stuff that you watch in House of Hammer. It is horrific, some of the shit that he was doing. So I don't know how they didn't find anything to go after him for, Jeff. It's mind-blowing.
I think that these cases are notoriously tough to prosecute.
Yeah, especially with people with money. Yeah.
I think issues, particularly around issues of consent, are tough. But like, especially in that world, in like the world of BDSM, which it seems like he was operating in, which again is not illegal. I think
no, it's not illegal. Of course not.
Yeah. He's obviously a kinky individual. And his, it's tough when those kinks, when someone shines a light on those kinks. But I think we're also, living in a little bit of a more sex positive society, although in many ways it is still kind of Puritan, which is why, there's a lot more violence than sex in our movies. And when there is sex, it gets an NC-17 or rating or whatever. Yeah. I think it's a little complicated. I mean, I didn't see the documentary.
You gotta at least watch the last episode. Yeah.
Okay. So you may be coming at it with a little bit more knowledge than I have. But when you put the quotation marks around sex addict or whatever, is that because you don't believe he is one, or because you don't believe?
Yeah, I think he's using that as a cop out to get out of responsibility for what he did. That's what I think, because he had a burner Instagram account that he put his videos on doing. He would drink and drive. He would take videos of himself drinking and driving while he was out on one-lane highways. He would take videos of himself doing certain nefarious things. And you're just like, what the fuck? BDSM, yes, I got a problem with that if it's two consensual adults. But multiple women, and they're on the documentary, and they've got like actual videos of them talking about it. And this one woman, Effie, is the one who really launched all this, because she claimed when you watch them, there's not a moment where you doubt what they're saying. Not a fucking moment. It's so authentic and real, and you believe it, and you absolutely understand.
And you don't think that with Armie Hammer, it's a case of maybe women who wanted to give him control, hoping to please him, and because he's a celebrity and he'll be, they'll be his slave, whatever it is.
Right. He preyed on younger women that he lavished with attention, constantly texted, would show up at their houses and apartments uninvited, would do these things to make it seem as if he was this really incredible guy who was all about them and cared about them. but then he would bring along these ropes and these ties and all these kinds of things and would surprise these women. There's a video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
You've got to watch this. There's a video of him walking into a hotel room when he's talking about how great his hotel is. And there is a woman casually on all fours on a bed in lingerie, just waiting to get an order from him as he walks past her casually out onto the balcony. So,
and John, let me ask you, what is wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that unless she's being controlled by him or manipulated by him against her will or against her consent. That's where the problem lies. And when you're watching the show, it really dives into that, and you see that kind of stuff there that goes on. And those text messages, I mean,
you don't
him
think
telling
there
a
are
woman,
women, John, though, who just in general, realistically, who engage in that kind of activity,
sure,
right? And they agree to wait on all fours in the bedroom, and then maybe years later are like, Jesus, what was I doing? That was really fun. Like, and they regret it, and they say, well, he had me under control. He did this, he did that. I mean, it's tough. But then
at some point, as a man, why aren't you waking up to the fact that you are doing these things to these women? How are you not doing that? And I know he gave a quote where he's like, well, I came on strong and I consumed their lives, but I
think he's getting off on it. I don't think there's any question that he was into like power dynamics and that
totally.
Kind of stuff. I just I think it's tough to send a guy to prison, for those kinds of things without really hard evidence, which clearly was lacking here, according to the Los Angeles DA, who knows more than you and I.
Probably, yes. But I also say when you watch that documentary, you also see how much money flows into that city from the Hammer family in multiple areas. And so you might consider the fact that a little bit of money talked here, and people, and they know they have skeletons, they know everything. Like I heard from, I shouldn't say that. That's for off
money time. There's a lot of people with money who have gone to jail, who have been indicted, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Elizabeth Holmes. She just reported for 11 years, right?
I just don't think that their money could ultimately save them. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein had money. A lot of people. I mean, money can save you to a certain extent. It can get you out of a DUI, but I don't think when you're looking at those kinds of charges, it helps, but I don't think it gets you off. I think what got him off was a lack of prosecutable evidence.
We'll see. I'm
saying it like it's my opinion. It is a fact.
How many of these true crime podcasts expose how casual or negligent detectives and police have been in certain cases? So, or find out that some of them were bought and paid off.
Now we're talking about the same Los Angeles Police Department, though, that has now, we can flip it, brought Danny Masterson to justice. Right?
Let's talk about it. Yeah, Danny Masterson, convicted of 2 counts of forcible rape, faces 30 years in prison. So that was, and they couldn't reach a verdict on the 3rd rape charge, deadlocking with a vote of 8-4 in favor of conviction.
He has money and he has Scientology behind him. Like, that.
Yeah, but he ain't fucking Tom Cruise, bro. He ain't Tom Cruise, bro. Come on. Danny Masterson? Come on, dude. That's like me saying Brian Scalabrine is like just same level as fucking, Reggie Lewis or some. Come on, man. Get out of here. Danny Masterson. He wasn't even the star of his own show. It was fucking
I'm just saying that his money in the end couldn't help him either because there was evidence.
Yes. Well, there wasn't evidence the first time around. They had to retry him, dude. And then they found the evidence and got him on that. And they couldn't even get it for the 3rd one because, as I just said, it was deadlocked. So, yeah, this is really interesting. Of course, Scientology is going to fight this like crazy until the end. But it's a situation that's going on, and that Leah Remini has been very clear about that kind of stuff happening in Scientology. So,
justice takes a long time, but it always catches up to you.
But something you asked me, we should bring it up because you wanted to maybe make it the title of the episode, was, do you think now, swinging back to Armie Hammer, do you think with Robert Downey Jr.'s cachet, him being found essentially not guilty or them not having enough evidence to come after him, do we start a possible comeback for Armie Hammer? He didn't do the press for Death on the Nile because all this was coming up at the same time. He has been adamant that he is innocent of all of this. So
I think so. I think you do.
Open the door.
I think you do, but you don't see the Armie Hammer that you saw before. I think you see him doing a lot of like these action movies and stuff like that. You know, the kind of like stuff Jack Houston might do. You know, like those kinds of movies.
Do you think smaller stuff like he did in Sorry to Bother You? Do you think that's a possibility for him to go that route with the more artistic films? Small roles, but significant roles in films?
No, I don't think that those kinds of avenues will necessarily be open to him.
Yeah.
I think that he needs to sort of come in like the back door, so to speak. And like do it like that, or almost like Shia is doing, where he finds like a really edgy director like an Abel Ferrara and goes off and like makes a movie in Italy or something. I think that's how he kind of resurfaces, maybe on the festival route. I don't really see studios or networks or streamers being in a rush to work with that guy.
Yeah, it's interesting how men get to come back multiple times. We don't really see women get to do that once they're painted in a certain way.
Well, women, how often are women like, you know, the perpetrators of this kind of stuff? There aren't a lot of women who are banished and then.
No, but I mean, what's his face? God, who was it who recently came out and said, well, Michelle Rodriguez. I was reading a profile on Michelle Rodriguez, and Fuqua was talking about working with, was it Fuqua? One of the directors was talking about working with her and said, like, I was told that she was difficult to work with, but I found her to be incredibly fun to work with, and she was really smart and intelligent. So there's a way they try to denigrate women in the town that I think, you know.
Why can't she be difficult?
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But like, why? I just like, is that a misogynistic thing to say? If she is in fact difficult?
But if she's difficult because she's asking questions, because she wants you to explain things and get it down to the bone and understand it so she can, that's a process.
I think it's simply because she's been around since the beginning. She's an OG, so she actually has leverage and some say on that set. Right, she can throw her weight around. Yeah. You know, if that makes her a pain in the ass, you know, and makes her difficult, I believe it. But I think she's also earned the right on those sets.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, good
with
point.
Armie Hammer, I wanted to say, I think it's about the kind of movie. That's the other thing. I think that people would buy him in like in a sexually charged thriller now, or as a villain in some sort of home invasion movie, like as like a bad guy. I don't think you're going to see him being like a romantic lead or a hero too often, but in a darker role, I think Armie Hammer, in some cases, could even be a draw.
You know, the irony of it all is I think he would have been a fantastic Green Hornet. Not Seth Rogen. I mean, an Armie Hammer Green Hornet would have been real interesting. And I wonder if his people go, all right, let's start working with female directors. That'll give you a bit of a shield as you walk back into your comeback. I bet that's a possibility.
Would you, if you were doing another 50 Shades movie, would you consider Armie?
No. I think you should. I don't know where you think he should be walking into sexually charged movies. You out of your fucking mind. He shouldn't go anywhere near that shit.
That's exactly what he's marketable for. You know, he's a guy who likes to fuck.
Yeah. All right.
He's believable.
One last thing. Let me ask you about this, Jeff. There was a report that came up here from Mark Malkin at Variety that James Gunn's Superman search includes former Bold and Beautiful star Pierson Fodé. Take a look at this guy. That is a good-looking dude, Jeff. I mean, I'm even questioning my sexuality a little. This is a good-looking guy. Does this guy? I mean, he's got the square jaw. He's got everything you need to play Superman. He's got that wholesome Midwestern look. Got the eyes. So, what do you think? Could they take a soap opera star, put him in this position, make him an unknown in essence, become Superman? What do you think? Is it all bullshit?
It's funny. Someone I think had even indicated like this is the week you're going to start to see like Superman stuff start to get leaked.
Really?
So I'm like, is this like real? Like, could this be like an official like kind of plant, like a testing the waters? What's this dude's name?
Pierson Fodé. Here, let me bring up his
Fodé?
Yeah, I think that's how you say it.
I got to tell you right now, he's out.
Look at this guy. This is a good-looking dude.
I do think that James Gunn will surprise us and sort of cast someone out of left field.
Come on. This is Superman, dude. I don't know what your problem is.
No.
Look, he looks good in red. Come on, guy.
Dude, that's a male model. That's a male model.
Yeah, but clearly he's an actor as well. He's an actor. And he's got the blue eyes. Look at the blue. Come on, Jeff. Goodness gracious.
That guy is selling me fucking perf. He's selling me a fragrance. He's selling me a cologne. Are you kidding me? No.
Look at the smoothness. Come on.
That he is a perfect soap opera star. He does not strike me as Superman material, and his name is horrendous. Sorry. There's a lot in a name. Okay?
How dare you?
There's a lot that's in a name.
This guy is a great look. He's got 1 million followers on Instagram, Jeff. Woof. Woof.
This is not a James Gunn hero to me. Superman's not a male model.
What are you talking? Christopher Reeve, fucking Brandon Routh. They're all good-looking dudes. What? Say that again.
Superman's a reporter.
No. Okay. Shut the fuck up.
Could have been anything. He comes down to Earth. Guy decides to be a fucking reporter.
Let me tell you something. I've seen about 1 million male reporters. None of them have ever looked like Clark Kent, motherfucker.
Exactly.
None of them.
No, none of them look like that fucking guy either.
That's what I'm saying. They don't look that good looking. There's a reason they become reporters. The other side of this thing is he's 31, Rachel Brosnahan 32. I mean, that's a comparable age there that could work if they were looking at Brosnahan. Could be interesting. I'm just throwing it out there.
I have no idea what I'm not even going to sit here and pretend like I know what's happening with Superman.
All right. We've got some Streamlabs or super chats that have come through. Do you want to answer them real quick before we wrap up?
Yeah, I gotta start to get pretty here. What's going on?
Yeah, we also got game 1 of the NBA Finals starting in just a second. So.
No. I don't even know what you're talking about. Don't even know what you are talking about. Is there a game tonight? Is there a game?
Oh, my ankle. All right, anyway, let me take a quick break.
And went like this.
Poor Jason. I mean, God love him for playing through that. But yeah, once the ankle's gone, man, you can't do shit.
Celtics in 8.
All right. Let's take one last quick break, and then we'll jump into the Streamlabs Super Chats. Get on out of here right after this. All right, Jeff, let's get into this stuff real quick. I'll bring them up as fast as I can. You know what? I'm just going to read them. Sorry, guys. I was going to read them real quick. All right. Where did we start? Jesus, we had a few of these. All right. C. says, just sending some love and support. Awesome show, guys. Thank you. Connor Easterday says, any updates on the Ryan Gosling, Margot Robbie, Ocean's 11 prequel? A couple of months ago, Jeff suggested the budget might get slashed in order to pay for Beetlejuice 2. Thanks, guys. Jeff.
Haven't heard much about it. No.
Okay. Arak says, do you think it's because of the DC curse? I don't know what that means, so I'm going to let that.
What is because of the DC curse?
I don't know. It was back an hour ago. We were talking about something, and I don't
something about. Okay, well, we didn't really talk about Ezra. Like it's all. Yeah, it's like I've said all along. They were never getting rid of Ezra.
Right. Yeah.
And Ezra, they're obviously not recasting either, especially if the movie's a success.
Yeah, which it will be. Which it fucking will be. It feels like.
Tracking seems low, but okay.
I don't buy that for a minute. Blank Green Canvas says this is very similar to John Boyega's Star Wars criticisms and how he was treated with diminishing prominence. Absolutely, which is why I know Jeff disagrees with me, but I think John's coming back with the new writer. Mickey Dawes says, hey, John and Jeff, hope you're well. Any Star Wars updates? Will John Boyega return as a Jedi? Any clarification? Jeff?
I've got no updates. If it's something changes and my source is like, you know what? It looks like your boy Rocha is actually going to be right for once. I will let you know. I will be totally honest and straightforward with you guys.
Good.
But I have not heard that change.
I want an Outback Steakhouse if that happens. Let's see. Brian Brawler says, this was an amazing episode, guys. Thanks, Jeff. You too, John. Well, thank you, Brian. Owen Lanning says, Dave finale was amazing, Jeff. I still have season 2 finales my favorite, but damn, this season was probably the best. Rocha, if Rachel McAdams thinks Dave is good enough to be in, you got to give it another try. Damn it. Rachel McAdams is in the show?
She is.
Fuck. That could mean, my girlfriend knows this. My top 2 crushes are Rachel McAdams and Rachel Weisz. So I'll see anything with Rachel McAdams. I almost went to see the Margaret movie by myself just to see Rachel McAdams as the mom in that. Mike Joyce says, Rocha, love the Succession finale. Next time you get in an argument with Jeff, you should shout, I am the eldest boy. Oh, yeah, I should probably do that. Did you like the Succession finale, Jeff? Did you see it? Are you a Succession guy?
I didn't watch it, but I feel like I know everything that happens in every line because I've read 20,000 articles about it. It's like, did you see the ratings, by the way, that came in the first headline?
Yeah. Woof.
What do you mean, woof? It was like 2.9. It was like series high, 2.9 million.
That's what I'm saying. It was series high. That's what I was reacting to.
Right. But 2.9 million. I'm like, this show generates so much more ink than any other show that has 3 million people watching it.
Yeah, but you can't judge it. You can't judge it from back when we had 5 fucking networks, Jeff. It's a whole different game now, you know? I mean, the top 10 show on Collider is doing if they were to take our numbers from the top 10 show on Collider nowadays, we'd be a hit. We'd be a hit. They wouldn't have canceled us.
Cousin Greg for life.
There you go. I'm Too Flat Cam says, oh my God, they were really going to lynch Mr. Echo. Jesus Christ. How can an adult with intelligence think that would fly? I love Lost, but now I won't be looking back as fondly. Yeah, I understand that. I totally think that's fair. Justin Jones says, hi guys, thoughts on the new Danny Masterson from that 70s show, was convicted of 2 counts of rape. He is looking to spend a long time in prison. Not sure if I can ever watch reruns of the show the same now. I never was a 70s show guy. And Kutcher being a Scientologist and Danny being a Scientologist, I think Mila is as well, doesn't make me want to go back and watch it anyway. So, but I hear you, and we'll see if he actually sees a day in prison. We'll see.
I'm sorry. This has no bearing on how I watch the show. I'm not watching Danny Masterson. I'm watching Hyde, right?
Yeah.
Stephen Hyde, right? What wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, come on.
All right. Jay Bling says, I agree about Dwayne Johnson that he needs to make movies that don't pander to 4 quadrants and don't prioritize marketability over storytelling. Good luck, because he literally said that in his video for the Fast and Furious movie that he's doing. He said, the motto of Seven Bucks Productions is audiences first. So he ain't going anywhere away from 4 quadrant stuff. Jeff, your thoughts on that?
On who moving away from 4 quadrants?
Dwayne Johnson moving away from 4 quadrants.
I think he needs to.
Yeah.
I don't know if he will, but I think he needs to. I think he needs to do some R-rated action stuff. And you know what else would be great? Just see a horror movie starring Dwayne Johnson. Where's Dwayne Johnson's, like, even if it's ill-advised a little bit, like, where's his End of Days?
Oh my God. That movie was so fucking terrible. Schwarzenegger taking on the devil. You think you've seen some shit? Oh, ridiculous. Jay Bling says, I mean, do we even know what Dwayne Johnson's Red One is even about? I don't know. Well, I mean, we've seen coverage of it.
Santa Claus, yes.
Yeah, it's a Santa Claus movie. Yeah, it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And I think Chris Evans is in it as well, right? With him? Yeah. All right, last one. Haskell 420 says, hey guys, I just saw Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. The hype about it is legit. The film is effing fantastic on every level. Bravo, Lord and Miller. Yeah, I agree, Haskell. I saw it. Like, yeah, should we give a quick review, Jeff? Yeah, I loved it.
I got to hop in the shower, baby. I got hair to shampoo.
All right, real quick. What are your thoughts? Did you love it? Do you like it? It's okay.
It was really good.
Yeah, I think it's already in my top 5 of the year. It's one of the greatest films ever made. Forget animated, forget superhero. It's one of the greatest films ever made. And for those of you who are into comic books,
wait. Hold on.
Go ahead.
It's one of the greatest films ever made. It's in my top 5 this year.
Yeah.
What's that? Wouldn't it be your number 1 movie this year?
I said it's one of the greatest films ever made. Maybe there are better films I've seen already that are in the top 5. I'm still assessing.
Other movies this year that are also among the greatest films you've ever seen?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
I mean, Still is one of the greatest documentaries I've ever seen, I would say. Who is telling you Joseph Fubar is not a good show? Cut it out. Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. And what I'll say this, if you're a comic book reader, this film is like that one comic book you read, that one series you read that absolutely blew your mind at the power of comic books. So that's how I would sell it to you all. But overall, visually, acting wise, story wise, design wise, the heart of this film, all of it is absolutely excellent. Do not miss this movie. Trust me.
I
worried it's not going to do
loved
so.
Lauren Luna Velez.
Yeah, she was great.
I thought she was really good as as Miles's mom.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the spot. Visually, it was amazing.
Yeah.
A little overwhelming at times, and I think that the reason I'm not giving it an A and I give it like something like an A minus, the action scenes went on a little too long. They were like a little numbing. Yeah, I'm that old man. Like I was like, when this movie slows down and actually just has like human moments and people talk together, it's fucking great. It's the action stuff where it's like you're reminded like this is like a Saturday morning cartoon, which is good at times. It just goes on a little long. This movie's 2 hours and 20 minutes. Do I think it could have been 2:06? Yeah.
Really? I would have done another hour.
Another hour. You're getting probably another 2 hours and 20 minutes with Beyond the Spider-Verse, since this is only half a movie, although I must say a dramatically satisfying half movie.
Yes, I agree. Pump it into my veins. All right, let's get out of here, Jeff. Thanks so much for hanging out for a little bit longer today. This was a long show, but we appreciate you all hanging out with us. Over 500 of you still hanging out with us. Please remember, hit a like on this video, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel. Jeff, where can they find you and everything got going on, brother man? Tell them.
AboveTheLine.com and hopefully returning soon to LAMag.com.
There you go. All right, as for me, at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Live Geek Buddies tomorrow, 10 a.m. Me and Mike Vogel holding down the fort while Shannon's on vacation. Come and join us 10 a.m. live PT, Q&A, and conversations about other topics as well. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of The Hot Mic. Peace. Have a great weekend.